Alright guys, having a look at some of the stuff going on in Isaac this morning. This was this morning about just after noontime Eastern. You could see all of the chemtrails out across Georgia, good portion of Alabama and Mississippi with some of these intense markings. And this is just a few of the stripes. Once we throw this into an animation, begin to see how extensive it was. Then we begin to see Isaac just before we really got into the strengthening. This afternoon there's still some dry air that was entrained in on the eastern side of the storm. That kind of kept it from really taking off earlier today. But as we look at this afternoon, as the sun got a bit lower in the sky and just within an hour or two of sunset, you can still see all of the chemtrails out ahead of Isaac. And the ripplings are beginning to take shape across Louisiana, Mississippi in particular, and then even out over the Gulf. You can see some of these ripplings as this energy is being used to guide and to pull Isaac in the direction that these weather makers want. Some funky other geometry as well showing in. We almost have, once again, our cubes showing up as they begin to wrap storms around anchor points, like one here, one developing here, and then an anode or an anti-point kind of here. The two other depressions showing up here also with some squarish geometry embedded. This is also an unusual shape as we look off the coast of Florida. Two holes, and again with kind of this cube-like, at least a partial cube-like stadium wrapped around it. But there's this weak cool front off to the north with Isaac kind of enveloped underneath it. A whole lot of smoke and haze across the western states as a result of the fires that have been going on out over the west for some time now. Let's get into some the animation, and you'll be able to see as we approach sunset here. Here's the chemtrail and that cloud shield that has been enhanced by all of the chemtrails. And I'd love to see what it looks like from below, especially across Mississippi and Louisiana today. We'll kind of brighten this up so we can see as we get closer to sunset. You can begin to see all of the trails. There's a nice bright one here as we get towards just a good deal southwest of Chattanooga. But some of these magnetic field lines, you can see them all showing up in parallel and not in union with the flow of the clouds. And certainly not what you would expect if you were to follow the radiosonde or the wind flows. These clouds are moving contrary to the wind flows. So there's some engineering certainly going on across this region. When we go to the GFS, which is the Global Forecast System, there's our low of Isaac, and that matches off rather well with the low, which has strengthened. It's dropped about 7 millibars between noon and about 4 o'clock Eastern time, and continues to strengthen. Category 1 or Category 2, but we're looking at almost a 7-year repeat of Katrina. It is this area which is rich in the production of natural gas and petroleum. Of course, Deepwater Horizon, that event just off into this direction. So this will be the first major storm to impact this portion of the Gulf of Mexico since we had the Deepwater Horizon fiasco. And here's some of the drier air right into here off the coast of Florida, and then the storm continuing to wind up. So I'll be very curious to see how it winds or continues to strengthen through the course of this evening. Good old Isaac. What I'm interested in are the chemtrails. I want to see the pictures from the Gulf Coast over the last 24 hours and then on into tomorrow. How have those chemtrails, what do they look like in and amongst some of the cloud geometry that's going to be very apparent once people start to look for it. Again, the rippling is starting to take shape, the magnetic field lines, as they're beginning to draw in Isaac. Where it goes model-wise versus where it actually makes landfall will remain to be seen, but nevertheless there is some so profound engineering via the chemtrail action. Remember, it isn't the chemicals in the trails that are causing this, although that might electrically have a draw to these storms, but they're like a laser sight. It's not the red dot off the laser-sighted gun, it's the bullet that follows that is the problem. And this is what we're watching to see how that plays out tonight. So there's our chemtrail action again once over the southeastern U.S. All right, everybody, hold on. This is going to be a very interesting storm. Take care.